Hi, today's passage comes from Tanya. It is a teaching of the Alter Rebbe, and the verse states as follows. This is the ultimate purpose, or the entirety. This is the entirety of man and the purpose of his creation and the creation of all of the worlds, the upper worlds, the higher spiritual worlds, all the way down to this lower physical world. And what is that purpose, the Alter Rebbe says? To make this world a dwelling place for God. So this is now, we're coming towards the end of the series. The Rebbe chose this verse to teach children. You have to understand that your work here, your whole purpose, and not only your purpose, but the purpose of this physical universe and of the spiritual worlds ad infinitum, is for one reason only. And that reason is that this lowest of worlds, the physical worlds, should become a home for God. Now, right off the bat, what that gives us is a sense of the importance of our mission in helping this be accomplished, and an understanding of how precious this world is to God. There are infinite worlds, spiritual dimensions, angels, heavenly beings, and no matter where they are and on what standing, God wants this lowest of physical worlds. So it gives us an appreciation for our placement in reality, our power and our purpose, and how valuable this world is to God. This teaching of the Alter Rebbe is reminiscent of a verse from King Solomon. He states as follows, ultimately, everything is known. Soif davar hakol nishma. What is known ultimately? Fear God and fulfill His commandments, for this is the entirety of a person. This is the ultimate purpose of a human being, is to fear God and to do the things that God wants us to do, to be in alignment with His desire, and to be in alignment with His mind, with His consciousness, to connect my thinking, my inner world, and my action with what God wants. So there, Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, uses the phrase, Ki zeh kol ha'adam, this is the entirety of man. And here the Alter Rebbe begins the phrase by saying, V'zeh kol ha'adam, this is the entirety of man, of humankind. This is why we are alive. Obviously, they are both speaking about our studying Torah and doing mitzvahs. There is a subtle shift. The Alter Rebbe is looking forward to the era when this world will be a dwelling place for God. Actually, in that section of Tanya, already from chapter 36, 37, and onwards, the Rebbe is speaking about the Messianic era. So Shlomo HaMelech tells us, yes, you're here to do mitzvahs, to study the Torah. The Alter Rebbe says, why? Why do you have to study the Torah? Why do you have to do mitzvahs? Because we're here to help God out a little bit. That is your privilege. That is our unique gift, that I have the ability to do something for my Creator. And God chose that. He put us in a real relationship. It's not a game. Each one of us can do something that is going to shift the world and make this lowest bottom world a house for God. So what we see from that section of Tanya and also this passage is a focus has to be on God Himself, not on me. We've said it many times. The focus of a Torah life is not selfish, and it's not spiritually selfish either. I'm not seeking self-actualization, fulfillment, and refinement because I want to be the A+ Jew. No. I need to be refined. I need to work on myself. But why? Because that's what God wants me to do. It's not about growing myself into a very highly developed spiritual ego. The point is, I have to make this world a home for God. How will God feel comfortable here? So let's look at that for 1 minute, because clearly the verse is telling us, be attached to the end. Have that end in mind, and then retroactively live your life in such a way that you're going to come to that end. What will ultimately transform this world so that God feels comfortable? The performance of mitzvahs, even more so than the study of Torah. So I want to just interject something over here. The term a home, a dwelling place for God, is very specifically chosen. Each one of us knows, I take whoever I am, wherever I go. I take myself on the New York subway, and I take myself to meetings, to bookings, I take myself to friends' homes. But where does my innermost self come out? Here, in my home. Who you are is most manifest in your home, even though you take your essence with you. So when we look at God, what we say, obviously, is, what does it mean God wants a dwelling place in the lowest realms? That's the obvious question. He's everywhere. And the answer is yes, God is everywhere, but He's not manifest everywhere. The creation, or that dimension of existence, doesn't necessarily recognize its source, its creator. What God wants is that this lowest of physical worlds itself will call out, there's nothing other than Him. God is the only true reality. He is the source of all existence. He exists because He exists, not by virtue of anything else. And that presence is right here in this world. So that's what we mean when we say our purpose is to make this world a dwelling place for God. We're saying our purpose is to make this world a place where God's essence can be manifest. And how do we do that? Through the fulfillment of mitzvahs. And we spoke earlier in this series about how important mitzvahs are. If you remember the verse, all of Israel have a share in the world to come, we spoke there about the importance of mitzvahs. I want to just share a visual image over here that can help us. Think of a candle. And this is something that the Alter Rebbe discusses in this section of the Tanya. An oil-lit candle with a wick in a glass container. That candle's burning. If you think about it, the oil and the flame are really the same entity, but in a different form. Yes, there is combustion, but what is being burned in that flame is the oil. It is transformed, elevated through this burning process, and it becomes light that illuminates an entire room. When we look at the physical world, we have to see it like that oil. And my purpose is to make of the physical world a shining light. God's presence should be here. I have to be involved in that process. That's the wick, as the human being. And this burning process is the combustion. That is the effort that I put in. So each one of us will have to come to the physical world and say, yeah, it's not enough cloistering myself up in a room and studying. Of course, that is essential. I have to study. I have to connect my mind with the mind of God, and I don't know how to act if I don't have knowledge. There's knowledge so that I can conduct myself appropriately, and there is knowledge just because this is how I know God, through studying the Torah. However, I have to help God out. My purpose is to make this world a dwelling place for God, and in that sense, I have to use the physical world, but use it on His terms. So I cook food and I serve it to guests, or I eat it with the intention that I am nurturing my body so that I will have a home, a temple for my soul, the basis for my work. I earn money and I give from that money to charity. I buy furniture for my home so that people will be comfortable, etc., etc. What's happening is I take the matter of the universe, whether it is an etrog for Sukkot, tefillin, Shabbat candles, anything that I'm using, if it's specifically for a mitzvah, is like oil, and the mitzvah then converts that matter of the universe into light. That's what we have to bear in mind. This world is the lowest of all worlds, but it is the focus of God's attention. This is where He's really at. Everything is about our life here, and each of us has the great privilege of being able to help Him. My ultimate purpose is not just mitzvahs and Torah in a vacuum, but mitzvahs and Torah so that I can transform reality and make God comfortable here in the lower realms.